if the moderators and the other candidates do their jobs tonight, one topic will be Vivek Ramaswamy's recent comments about 9/11. Vivek is in the midst of a controversy entirely of his own making. And it's irritating on a few different levels. He's been playing footsie with 9/11 trutherism, the idea that 9/11 was an inside job. And I have to say, it's just deeply offensive on a number of levels, not to mention disrespectful to the families of the victims. Why is he doing this? This is totally unnecessary. He's rolling along just fine. This is completely unnecessary. We know who was behind the 9/11 attacks, and it was not the U.S. government. When confronted with this odd decision, he denied that he had done it, and then he blamed the dishonest media. Well, that does not work when it is not actually the media's fault and where the press has not actually been dishonest. Not to mention, it undermines other legitimate accusations of media dishonesty when a politician throws that term around just to cover his own absurd missteps. Yes, I am aware he's not the only politician to do this. But Vivek's whole rap is, I'm the one based in facts and truth. Great, let's have some. Here's what happened. On August 1st, the Blaze TV's Alex Stein asked Vivek a question during a rapid-fire exchange about whether 9/11 was an inside job.
Okay, 9/11, inside job or exactly how the government tells us?
I don't believe the government has told us the truth. Again, I'm driven by evidence and data. What I've seen in the last several years is we have to be skeptical of what the government does tell us. I haven't seen evidence to the contrary, but do I believe everything the government told us about it? Absolutely not.
Ask two
I believe
questions.
the 9/11 Commission? Absolutely not.
You see what happened there? Vivek said, and I quote, I have not seen evidence to the contrary, but do I believe the government told us everything about the 9/11? Do I believe everything the government told us about 9/11? Absolutely not. Do I believe the 9/11 Commission? Absolutely not. It was a pander to someone he knew was looking for a little conspiratorial red meat. But he admits in that clip that at least as of that date, August 1st, Vivek had seen no evidence that the government failed to tell us the full truth about 9/11. Not to worry, soon, when under fire for those comments, he would go searching. Okay, but we know as of that date, by his own comments, he did not have any evidence of this in his head. The Wall Street Journal, Mike Pence, and many others hit him for not clearly denouncing the suggestion that 9/11 was an inside job and for instead fueling the fire about a government cover-up. Well, by August 9th, Vivek thought it was time to take to Twitter. He dismissed this exchange as having been with, quote, a comedian podcaster. Having finally now done some homework on 9/11, Vivek went on to claim, quote, I wasn't referring to the baseless theories about controlled demolitions at buildings around the World Trade Center, but the very real possibility supported by recently declassified documents that al-Qaeda's attack was undertaken with support from Saudi intelligence officials. Oh, really? You were referring to the FBI report declassified in 2021? Weird, because you told Alex Stein, quote, I have not seen any evidence of this, but I don't believe everything the government told us about 9/11. You told him you hadn't seen any evidence. Why didn't you mention the Saudi report? I thought you hadn't seen any evidence. Which is it? Look, the whole thing's stuck in my craw. I don't like seeing somebody like Vivek come in and turn into your classic politician who just lies. Just fucking own it. Sorry, forgive me. Just own it. You screwed up. It was a dumbass thing to say. Abide by your truth brand and own it. The problem here for Vivek was, unbeknownst to the rest of us, this wasn't the first time he had done this. Weeks before he spoke with Alex Stein, he had given an interview to The Atlantic and a reporter named John Hendrickson. And there, too, he pushed a form of 9/11 trutherism, making comments that seemed to suggest 9/11 was an inside job. Nothing about the Saudis there either, by the way. To Hendrickson, Vivek volunteered that it's totally legitimate for Americans to just ask, how many federal agents were on the planes that hit the Twin Towers? What? Who is asking that? Why is that a legitimate question? What is he saying? I thought we weren't pushing, quote, baseless theories. The Atlantic piece, including those comments, then hit this past Monday, and the blowback was almost immediate. The comments caught fire online, with many conservatives and liberals criticizing them as bizarre conspiracy crap pandering nonsense. That same night, Vivek goes on CNN with Caitlin Collins. The proper move here was obvious. Caitlin, I should have been more careful in commenting on something that is still an open wound for many Americans. This was no way to handle such a delicate, painful topic involving the murder of 3,000 Americans. Nope. The new approach is deny the remarks were even made and also defend them. Listen.
A report in The Atlantic that you gave an interview to, you said, quote, I think it is legitimate to say how many federal agents were on the planes that hit the Twin Towers. Maybe the answer is zero. It probably is zero for all I know, right? I have no reason to think it was anything other than zero. But if we're doing a comprehensive assessment of what happened on 9/11, we have a 9/11 commission. Absolutely, there should be an answer the public knows the answer to. Explain to me what you meant there.
This is really, it's funny. I mean, The Atlantic is playing the same game as CNN. It's funny. What I said is on January 6th, I do believe that there were many federal agents in the field and we deserve to know who they are. On 9/11, what I've said is that the government lied. And this is incontrovertible evidence, Caitlin. The government lied about Saudi Arabia's involvement.
But your quote here, are you telling me that the quote is wrong
20 years later,
here?
yeah.
But are you telling me that your quote is wrong here because it says how many federal agents were on the planes at the Twin Towers?
Yeah, when I actually, and this is just lifting the curtain on how media works again, I asked that reporter to send the recording because it was on the record. He refused to do it. But we had a free-flowing conversation. The truth is there are lies the government has told about 9/11, but it's not the ones that somebody put in my mouth. It's the one that I articulated, which is that Saudi Arabia, absolutely, their intelligence was involved in 9/11.
Okay, so the quote is wrong. He says so explicitly. This is all media games by CNN and The Atlantic, according to Vivek. Except it's not wrong. It's exact. And The Atlantic has now released the audio tape so we can hear it for ourselves.
What is the truth about January 6th?
I don't know, but we can handle it. Whatever it is, we can handle it.
But what
government
is it?
agents, how many government agents were in the field? Right?
You mean like entrapment?
Yeah. Absolutely. Why can the government not be transparent about something that we're using terrorists, or the kind of tactics used to fight terrorists, if we find that there are hundreds of our own in the ranks of the day that they were, I mean, look.
Well, there's a difference between entrapment and a difference between a law enforcement agent identifying it.
I think it is legitimate to say how many federal agents were on the planes that hit the Twin Towers. Like, I think we want it, maybe the answer is zero, probably is zero for all I know, right? I have no reason to think it was anything other than zero. But if we're doing a comprehensive assessment of what happened on 9/11, we have a 9/11 commission, absolutely that should be an answer the public knows the answer to. Well, if we're doing a January 6th commission, absolutely those should be questions that we should get to the bottom of. We're doing a 9/11 commission, and there are federal agents on the plane we deserve to know. And if we're doing a Jan 6 commission, and there are federal officers in the field, we deserve to know. Just tell us the truth. Tell us what happened.
I think it's interesting to compare and contrast 9/11 and January 6th.
Oh, yeah. I don't think they belong in the same conversation. I'm only bringing it up because I am not making the comparison. I think it's a ridiculous comparison.
I'm not comparing,
but I'm saying that I brought it up only because it was invoked as a basis for the Jan 6 Commission.
Of course. What I'm saying, though, is that I think Democrats and Republicans would agree 9/11 is a day that's like Pearl Harbor Day, where there are good guys and bad guys, and America was attacked.
I mean, I would take the truth about 9/11. I mean, I am not questioning what we've done. This is not something I'm staking anything out on, but I want the truth about 9/11.
It's exactly as The Atlantic said it was, and he denied on CNN. Now, Vivek is tweeting about the CNN reporter being a, quote, petulant teenager. Look, it's true she has a grating style. She's got about as much warmth as the Nancy Pelosi ice cream collection, but her demeanor was not the problem here. His dishonesty was. It was wrong of the Democrats to compare the January 6th attacks to 9/11. Outrageous. And we called them out on it repeatedly. But it is also wrong of Vivek to use baseless bullshit conspiracy theories about federal agents on the 9/11 planes to make his case about government dishonesty. There are certain things most of us in this country still hold inviolate. 9/11 is one of them. Politicians on the left and right, you have no business using the murder of 3,000 Americans to build your brand as an alleged warrior of truth. Period. Negative dings on credit reports happen to all sorts of people from all different socioeconomic backgrounds. Understanding the credit landscape can be really tough, and spending the time to dispute and then repair these so-called dings can be a full-time job. I mean, good luck to you. If you have kids, you have your own 9-to-5 job. For starters, you're going to have to deal with 3 separate credit bureaus. It's just a massive headache. It's also a common misconception that people with poor credit scores are just those who simply don't pay their credit card bills. These actually can be hardworking people who are negatively affected by divorce, identity theft, medical debt, student loans, and just don't have the time or the energy to fix it. But if you don't address negative credit items, they can haunt you for years to come. And when it counts the most, right? Like when it's time to get a mortgage at a competitive rate, those are high stakes. You don't want it to get screwed up. And we know that being relegated to the status of renter versus homeowner is a huge obstacle people face in trying to move their family up the economic class hierarchy over the course of their lifetime. The good news is that our new sponsor, Lexington Law, would like to help you if you are dealing with this problem. Go to lexingtonlaw.com. Start today with a free consultation and review. Tell them I, Megyn Kelly, sent you at lexingtonlaw.com. Hey, thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes.